That's a little bit too loud. Jay, if you and Jim would come on up. If I get in the right spot. We're going to talk about the importance of the state associations, and we have with us today Jim Ayotte, who is the Executive Director of the Florida Manufactured Housing Association. Jim has been the Executive Director now for the past 10 years in Florida. He served in the association in Ohio and the New England Oklahoma Association as well. The state of Florida, as all of you know, is very heavily involved in communities and parks in Florida. So Jim has a lot of involvement and activity with communities in Florida. Jay has been the executive director now at the GMHA for the past 5 years. Jay worked in the manufactured housing industry, so he's worked alongside the parks and communities for several years in his involvement with the manufacturing process. And his family also owned a community down in Glenn County when he was growing up. So he's had a lot of association with parks and communities and some of the things that y'all face as well. So this time I'm going to turn it over to Jim to start it off, and he will take us through the Florida Association.
Great. Gary, thank you, and good morning, everyone. Again, my name is Jim Ayotte, and I've been involved in the industry now for close to 30 years on the association side. So I've worked in New England, Ohio, I worked for a national association, and most recently in Florida. Florida is one of the larger associations in the industry. It's an interesting association. We represent all sectors of the industry, but our main membership is community owners. And we spend a great deal of time dealing with community owner issues. And as I was sitting here this morning, listening to questions talking about infill in communities, talking about pet policies, I would encourage everyone here to be a member of your state association. Your state association is your first and foremost line of defense against adverse laws and regulations. In Florida, we are fortunate because when it comes to communities, we try to preempt everything at the state level. So talk about replacing homes. In Florida, you can replace any home in any community based on the original setback. So you wouldn't have, it's not a local issue. So if you buy a community, you know you can go in there and you can replace any home that you want all the time. We make sure that the state is the one that preempts everything. When it comes to repair and remodel of mobile homes, nothing to do with local ordinance, everything to do with the state. We structured Florida this way because we feel we have more influence at the state level than we do at the 67 counties and a couple hundred different localities out there. And so we spend a lot of time working in state government, and so that's one thing you really need to look at. And quite frankly, I talk to a lot of community owners that say, well, you know something, I don't think my state association does much, I don't want to incur the expense. Tell you what, join the association. If you don't like what they're doing, get actively involved, you can make a difference. It's a membership organization, so pay your money, show up, tell them what you want, and hold their feet to the fire. A little bit of background about Florida. In Florida, 2.2 million people live in mobile and manufactured homes in the state. That's about 13% of the state's population. We have 850,000 mobile and manufactured homes in the state of Florida. On the community side, there are 540,000 land lease sites in the state of Florida. 320,000 of those sites are regulated by our regulatory agency, the Department of Business and Professional Regulation, through 2,785 communities. So we have a very large presence, and we represent the whole spectrum. We have a lot of the REITs are involved. We have a lot of high-end, 55-plus, highly amenitized communities, and we also have a lot of mom-and-pop operations, small, that are providing basic shelter, which is so important. Our association does three things. We have three things our mission statement says. We educate, we protect, and we promote. Education takes the form of several things. We have 14 chapters. We're always going out holding chapter meetings, and every time we do that, we try to do education training sessions. We have an annual conference, we have newsletters, so We're always trying to educate our members, making sure that they're aware of current laws and regulations and trends in the industry. So we do a good job with education. And I tell you what, this conference here has been amazing. I think this is a great model that others around the country should be following. It's bringing together community operators to learn from each other and bringing in vendors that can provide such great value. So this is such a great model that I'm really pleased that I was able to be here. Number two, protection. This is probably the most important thing that we do for our individual members. We are very strongly involved in Tallahassee in legislative process, in our regulatory process. We're big business in Florida, and it's an expensive proposition. We have general counsel, we have legislative counsel, we have a couple different lobbyists that we work with on an ongoing basis. Florida is highly regulated when it comes to communities. The good news is we have a strong presence there. We've been able to work through the system, and we think it works out pretty well for us in Florida. Our members are really pleased. My members tell me, Jim, your job is to make sure that things don't change, because if we can maintain status quo, we feel comfortable. And so every session we look to try to maintain status quo. And we have a very active homeowners association, statewide homeowners association in Florida. Well-funded. At this point, they have about 30,000 members. They have a lobbyist as well. So we spend a lot of time working with the homeowners association. Since I've been involved, I tried to cut through it. And I said, this is ridiculous. Every year, the homeowners file legislation. Every year, the industry goes in and kills it. We are spending hundreds of thousands of dollars getting nothing done. And so I sat down with the homeowners and said, look at guys, our interests are aligned. You know, we actually want to run a good community. We want you to be happy. You know, for the most part, 99% of the time, our interests should be aligned. The only time it's not is with rent. You think you're paying too much, we think you're paying too little. But we all want nice communities, so let's get together and start working on those issues. And for the past several years, we've been working with the Homeowners Association. We've been making progress. We're trying to push them off those issues that make no sense. They're never going to be able to control rents, and so stop it. They're never going to be able to have the right of first refusal to buy a community, so stop it. Let's work on those issues where we can both benefit. How about if we go in and lower taxes? I know Jay's going to talk about sales taxes. In Florida, we're looking at property taxes. If we can lower property taxes for communities, that's going to float down to impact homeowners. If we can reduce the monthly cost of living, then we're actually increasing the value proposition for what we're doing. And so we're making some progress here, but we spend a lot of time on the protection end of it. The third thing that we do is promotion. And this is something that I believe as an industry, we have dropped the ball big time forever. And if George was here, I think George would agree as well. What we've done in Florida, and I don't think we brought it up, but if you have the opportunity, you should look at it. In Florida, we have the only dedicated consumer website in the country, FMHA.org. So Florida Manufactured Housing Association.org, FMHA.org. Dedicated consumer website. Here's what we try to do. We try to educate consumers to the value proposition of our industry. Why it makes so much more sense to buy a manufactured home, why it makes so much more sense to live in a land lease community. So one, we're trying to change the paradigm. So educating consumers. Number two, we're trying to help consumers navigate the home buying process. This is not easy. People don't buy homes every day. They don't buy homes like cars. They buy a couple homes in their lives. So we want to educate them and make them feel comfortable. But for our members, the most important thing is this. We want to connect those website visitors and those potential home buyers, potential residents to our members. And so with our website, someone can go on there and they can search for a community by 55 plus, all age. They can search for communities by geographic location. You may be interested in Orlando or Miami or the Panhandle. They can search that way as well. They can search by amenity. So that's a value proposition we bring to our members. In addition to that, we just launched our website last month. Our members have the ability to list homes for sale in their community. So they can list homes and site visitors can go and search. And if they're looking for a home for $30,000 in Orlando, Florida, in a 55-plus community or an all-age community, they can simply go there and end up looking at homes, and from there they can reach right out to our members to do that. So that's the value proposition that we try to do with our website. Our website is the basis of the future of the FMHA and hopefully the entire industry. And let me explain. Last month, we brought together a small group of leaders in Florida, and these were past leaders of the association, current leaders, and future leaders, the millennials. We brought them together, about 15 people, and we said, okay, how are we going to keep this growing? Florida is a hot market right now, and the demographics are in our favor. How are we going to keep this going in the future? And we sat down and we identified 3 things that we need to do. Number 1, we need an industry image campaign. And we're going to start that in Florida. We've been working on this for a long time. We've been saving our money. We have the infrastructure in place. We put together a task force. We will be initiating an image building campaign for the industry in Florida. Hopefully it will be the basis for other states to pick up, other regions, and maybe someday our national association, but that's been a long time coming and not happening. Number 2, we need more chattel financing in the industry. Very, very frustrating. This is ridiculous. If you look at us as an industry, we need more competition. We need to be able to lower rates. If we lower rates for our, we'll have more business. It's that simple. I've been actively involved with FMHA in the Federal Housing Finance Administration on this creating a secondary market, duty to serve, creating a secondary market. I am convinced, that we are very close to getting the government-sponsored enterprises, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac. They're seriously looking at our industry. If we can get them to create a secondary market for chattel financing, we'll have more lenders, rates will come down, and we'll be even a better value proposition. So that's the number 2 objective in Florida. And number 3 is interesting. It's a mix between old and new communities. We need to go in there and change laws and regulations to make it easier for us to upgrade older communities and to upgrade housing as well. And so that's number 1. Local government is always trying to go into our communities. They're always trying to tell us how to repair and model homes. Something, we regulate that to the state, but we need to go out there and get some incentives. Local government and state government should basically be patting us on the back and incentivizing us to go in there and to upgrade our communities and to upgrade our housing. And so we need to change the way that this is looked at in Florida as well. When it comes to new communities, we haven't had a new community developed in Florida since 1985, over 20 years. We need to go in there and educate local government of why new manufactured housing land lease communities make sense, why they're a value proposition for the local government, and why they're needed as well for their citizens as well. So those are the 3 things that we're working on. And then before I turn over to Jay, I just really wanted to talk just a second about the image of the industry, because I look in Florida and it's really frustrating because the demand is there. Many times manufactured housing, we are the solution. No question. You look at it, we have the best value proposition. But the problem is people don't know that. In fact, people think the opposite. They say, mobile homes, manufactured homes, they not good quality, cheap housing. Those are people that can't afford anything better. We have done a poor job as an industry conveying our value proposition. It has to stop. The bottom line is we represent a broad sector when you look at it. We provide basic shelter for some people, and we provide high-end housing for other people. We need to package that up and convey that, and that's number 1. So in Florida, we're looking to do that, but we really need to just build some energy here, get more people inspired to go forward, and to realize that we need to do a better job as an industry, the way we present ourselves, the way we talk about ourselves, in addressing a lot of this faulty stuff that we see in media, because we are an easy scapegoat because we allow to be ourselves that way. So, the time is ripe now, the industry is doing better, associations have more money, we need to pile our money together and go out there and change the paradigm of this industry, not only at a local level, but on a regional and national level as well. So, thank you.
Good morning. Can you hear me in the back okay? You might have received something today known as good karma. I have lost my voice. So I won't be able to talk for just a couple of minutes. But good for you. I'm Jay Hamilton, the director of the Georgia Association, of course, as Gary said. We're a smaller association than what Florida has, but we're growing fairly rapidly. I have been here for 5 years. All my previous experience was in manufacturing, primarily through Fleetwood Homes. But the association business has given me a chance to speak my passion to community leaders. And this is definitely my passion in life is manufactured housing. And so I can go to our community leaders, I can go to our legislators, and I can speak from my heart about how important it is. But primarily our goal at the Georgia Manufactured Housing Association is number one, is legislative. It's protecting ourselves from bad legislation, going forward, moving ourselves forward on good legislation that's positive for the industry. Our second goal is education. And then our third goal, like Jim said, is the image of our industry. But a lot of people look at associations as a way of networking. And we do provide a great platform for networking. Our members learn best practices from one another. We do conventions every year. We do educational symposiums, whether it's having the commissioner of the Department of Georgia Banking and Finance come and speak to us, whether it's having a DCA commissioner come speak to us. We concentrate on what new regulations are, regulatory items. We fight regulatory items that are negative for our industry, and we push for items that are excellent for our industry. But if it tells you how successful we've been as an association in Georgia, is the state of Georgia has no laws, with the exception of one, and I'll tell you what that is. There are no laws in Georgia's books that regulate communities. None. We answer to the same code as landlords. This is that simple. In the state of Georgia, we've been able to evade any type of legislation that singles us out prematurely. So simply put, when they call me and say, I'm looking at buying a park in Georgia, what are your laws like? I say, it's real simple. You just have to answer to the Georgia Landlord Code. And they think I'm joking. And we're going to keep on fighting to not have regulation. We don't want to be strangled with regulation on how a bathroom should be in a community or how a pool should be in a community. You should be treated no differently than any other landlord. The second piece of legislation that we worked really hard on is tax legislation. We're pretty close. We got to the end of this legislation. It went to the House floor this past year. We lost by one vote. It'll go back, to the Senate floor. It'll go back to the floor again. But it's a tax exemption legislation. One thing that's not fair to us is we pay full sales tax in Georgia across the board on manufactured housing. So what we have asked is to be relieved from that and to pay on materials only. That would be fair. That's what they do with site builders in Georgia. So we're looking for the same break. Again, we've gotten pretty close to that this past year. We'll continue to push for that. What that essentially does is on a large home, like a 32 by 80, it reduces your selling price by $4,000 to $6,000. On a small single section or a small multi-section home, it reduces your price by a couple of $1,000s. It's a great savings for the consumer. And it's also fair to the consumer, because if a site builder pays on materials only, there's no reason our consumers should be taxed any differently. The second piece of legislation we will work on after we complete this is we have an ad valorem tax in Georgia. Our desire is to have ad valorem taxes removed To us, it's an unfair tax. It's a tax for having inventory. It's a tax for retailers having homes built and displayed on their sales stand. And so to us, it's an unfair tax. That's our next thing that's really important to us. The other thing that we're currently working on with the Georgia Tax Commissioners right now, and I'll be ready to present it next week, is Georgia community owners, and Spencer has more knowledge about how this works than I do, have to remove a home. If you have an abandoned home, you have to remove that home. So we are working with the Georgia Tax Commissioners on a way to not have to move those homes when they're abandoned, where a community owner can go in and assume that home just as it sits, remarket that home. He can purchase it or assume it and remarket it. And so that legislation will be ready to present this year. We'll go in the hopper in December sometime. And I'll present that to the community owners next week or the week after. But at the end of the day, joining your association, and some of you might not like this, but I need to be straightforward with you. Joining your association is a matter of fairness. Everybody takes from it, whether you pay or not. So when you don't join your association, it's sort of like going to church, eating a couple of times a week, going on all their ski trips, going on their vacations and enjoying all the things this church benefits you with, but you decide it's not really fair for you to tithe. Now, I'm not telling you how to handle your local church activity. I'm just using that as a comparison. What I'm saying is everybody in here benefits from our association, and we're really just at your peril to whether we get paid for that or not, to whether you join. Now, I know that probably is not very popular, but it is what it is. And a lot of people say, well, I'm not going to join because I don't agree. Look, I manage the association. I don't agree with everything we do either, but we have 5 segments. And what we do is try to find a happy medium that's acceptable to all 5 segments. But the last thing I'll say about associations, any of our agency heads will tell you this. The Department of the Insurance Commissioner in Georgia will tell you, I can't talk to all of them. The legislators will tell you at times, I can't talk to all of them. The DCA chairman can't talk to all of them, but he can send one email to me and let me communicate. And that's how they expect on communicating with our industry. They would love to be able to go visit every person in our industry, knock on each door. But for the Department of Insurance or the Department of Labor or whomever that may be, they just don't have the resources to visit you all location by location. So they come to us with that information, hoping that I'm going to do an efficient job of getting it out to you. But the last thing I'll say as it relates to your involvement in the associations is community owners have something that's very important to us. Most community owners have had a wide background of education and business interest. Spencer is a great example. If you look at Spencer's education, Spencer's different interests over the years, accounting and real estate and other things. The typical retailer, or the typical, like myself, coming from being with the manufacturer for 20 years, I don't bring a lot of different interests to our association. A wide background. I brought 20 years of manufacturing to our association, which was great. A lot of relationships, but community owners are investors. Community owners have multiple investments in a lot of occasions and those interests are very varied. That's why what you think and what you know and your experiences are important to us. And we can't gain from that if you don't join our association. You have this deep well of untapped information, but if you're not involved with the association, we can't access that well of information. So yes, I am begging a little bit. But there's so much you have to offer us, as well as everybody sitting next to you and around you. And so I would encourage you to join your association. We charge $250 a year for the first location. Not a lot of money. It's not the cheapest thing in the world. It's not a ton of money. On your second location, we charge $175 a year. So if you have one location, it's $250 a year. If you want to join a second location, it's an additional $175. I'll make this deal with you. If you join and you stay with us for a year, and you feel like you didn't get your $250 worth, I will return your money. We'll just call it even and be done. The other thing I'll tell you is we bill every January. We send out bills usually mid-January. I have applications with me today. If you would like to take an application, fill it out. I'll go ahead and set you up, put you on email, set you up on all of the lists to receive everything we do, and you won't have to pay a dime until January. So basically, you'll get a couple of months free. So if you'll see me afterwards, I would love to have you on our association. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
Okay. We're going to go back just a minute, and Jim wanted to show something on his state association website, and then I'll take a couple of questions.
Basically, I just wanted to, at your leisure, take a look at this. I think this is a good model. As I said, the basis of the website really is to educate home buyers to the value proposition. So we have a home buying guide there that goes through and just looking at it, how to buy, how to maximize your housing dollar, manufactured housing 101, myths versus reality. So we try to educate people. And the good news with the association is this: we don't sell homes, we don't lease sites. So we're non-threatening to consumers. When they go to us, they're saying, I know they're not going to try to sell me. Well, yeah, we kind of are, because we're trying to sell you in the industry and then to connect you with our members. And then, going across, all our builders, are listed here on the website, and they all have profiles, and they all have links to their own website. So if someone wants to dig further, with a manufacturer, they get to do that. We have a floor plan section because people like to see floor plans. Two things when people look at a website in our industry, they want to see pictures and they want to see floor plans. And so we have a floor plan where people can go in and look at generic floor plans. We have a photo gallery, which we're in the process of updating as well. But we have 50, 60 pictures on there. We'll have a few hundred before very long, which is great. And then find a home and find a community. This is really the member value that we get. And the way we set up this website, it's real simple. We broke it down by region in the state of Florida. So we take, Central Florida, and you can basically select 55 plus, all age, or private property, which would go to our retailers. You search that, and what it does, it brings up all our community members in the Central Florida area, A to Z. It's taken a while to get there, and then from there, you start looking at this. This looks like a home search, not a. Actually, I'm looking at the home search as well. So this is where our members get to uplist their home, and they actually get to put photos in as well. So we try to work with our members for good practices, make sure that you have good photos. When you do this as well on your website, that's what people want to see. We wanted to make sure, yes?
Just a quick question on the listing, obviously they have to be members.
Yes.
Do you charge them?
We do not. Yeah, and there's a couple different ways to do it. And this is a little bit sophisticated because we have a lot of the real estate investment trusts. So like an ELS or a Sun, what they do with all their listings in Florida is they do it with an XML feed. Every 24 hours, all their listings are updated. And then we have members that are not that sophisticated. They have the ability to put individual homes for sale, and then when they sell those homes, take them down as well. And then just the last section here I wanted to show you, just find a community, which is the same thing as before as well. So you have two types of communities, all age or 55 plus. Again, you go to Central Florida, if you hit 55 plus, that will just populate all our community members in that area. I'm not sure if we lost the connection or not. We could have, but just try one more time here. So they hit the button like I lost it. Yeah, and then what happens here, it lists all our members, and so you can go into every community member. Every member has a profile that they get to fill out as well. They can upload logos, photos, talk about the history of the thing as well. So, our thought is if our members complete their profiles, then they'll have a higher ranking on our website. And the goal for us now is to drive as much traffic as we can to this website from the industry. By doing that, I think our members will get more exposure. And then again, we want to make sure that we give all our members an opportunity to participate, so we have actually a listing of our services applied as attorneys.
Hey, Jim, we're going to move on into the question and answers real quick.
Yes, sir.
I've got one right here, and then we'll take another.
So we're in Georgia. We've been successful with the abandoned home process. We had found a way to be able to assume those homes, and then judges stopped signing the orders. So we found another way to be able to assume those homes that's working. And we're more than happy to join the association. I had trouble figuring out how to join it, so now that you're here with the application, we can do that. But I've got a question about how often do you meet and how do you give out information?
We primarily we communicate by email and through newsletters and weekly updates and things like that. But we meet, our board meets quarterly, and then of course we do, in between that, we do educational symposiums and we do PAC events, fundraising events for legislative purposes. We do a convention every year in June at the Jekyll Island Weston. And so it's a varied calendar.
There are two members of the GMHA board that represent communities. I happen to be one of those. I was asked to join a little over a year ago. I would like to encourage everybody to join GMHA if you have business in Georgia. But I will say, for those of you that have already joined, there are resources and things that can assist you. When I first joined the board, I sent an email out to every community member of GMHA saying, I'm a community owner, I was just elected to the board, I'm your representative, if you have a problem, bring it to me. And unfortunately, I didn't get any response to that. So if you do join, please use your two board members, and Jay can connect you up with this, or if you'd like to speak with me, I'm here today. Thanks.
We want to thank the panel here for being here, and you guys taking the time to listen to us. We're running behind, so we're going to move on to the next session. So thank you guys for all your input.
While they're coming up here for this really important session, by the way, this session we've added here has been, once again, requests from previous attendees for some information. Oh, forgot, vote. I'm being told, vote. You get a chance on the 3131 text vote. One of the things that, among the many benefits they highlighted, you as a community operator, if you're like me, the most irritable people you'll deal with sometimes are local officials. And that's happened quite often here in the state of Georgia. A benefit of being a member of this association in the state is just like Jay said, if you have a problem, maybe an inspector comes out and says, oh no, you've got to do this, you've got to do that. All you got to do is contact him. I promise you, because I've seen him do it over and over again, he will take care of that responsibility, or an attorney will. It's amazing how many times he's resolved conflicts by phone calls or making a visit. that none of us could have done. So that's another benefit of the association as a community operator. Okay, we're going to roll right into section. As the industry has changed, you've heard over and over again, and once again, it goes back to new regulations and things like that, and then that is the actual transportation and setting of these homes that hopefully a lot of you are purchasing from our manufacturers out here. And what we want to do is bring up two guys who are very experienced in this area, that have, one of them brought all the homes you saw in today. Can you imagine trying to get some of those down that turn? Did you see that turn right there at the entrance of whatever that main road is out there without running over a piece of that building next door or whatever? But so these two guys I want to bring forth, and it's going to be mainly question and answers. They're not going to tell you, pitch their services or anything, but these are two gentlemen who routinely, day in and day out, deal with the setting, moving, transport, different regulations in at least 2 different states. And I know Cole Phillips does other things. He's a community operator. He's been, his father been in the retail business forever. At least his dad has, but Cole for a small amount of time. And they're very knowledgeable in this. So I need you to get